Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Omega Studios International, broadcasting live from Atlanta. Today is Saturday, May 30th, 2015, and we're happy to welcome you once again to our regular chat, highlighting the challenges and the goings on in the Igbo community here in Atlanta to reach our local audience as well as all our listeners at home and around the world. With me this morning is a special guest who is going to share with us some of his experiences about the challenges involved in living in two countries. As you can imagine, he's a Nigerian, has lived in the United States for a few decades. We get into the details. But now he is straddling the two continents and two countries. So get ready to get some useful information. And as usual, I have my co-host here with me. So to get the conversation started, let me introduce myself once again as Obi Njoko. I'm the moderator. And my co-host, please introduce yourself.
Henry Okebugu, John Mandibo in Atlanta.
Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank
And
you.
my special guest is, I will simply introduce him as Colette Udenibo, and I'll give you the chance to give us more information about yourself. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Obi, for having me. As you said, my name is Colette Ifanyo Denibo. I'm from Imo State in Nigeria, and former and current resident of Atlanta, Georgia. I've lived in this country for 25 years. I'm currently living in Nigeria at the moment.
Okay. Thank you very much. And we know you are a very busy man and very busy schedule. And it is, we consider it a privilege that you granted us some of your time. So once again, we thank you. Like I said, you lived in Nigeria, grew up there, and you came here as a young man to study. And you said you have lived here for 25 years,
That is correct.
and then you decided to go back to Nigeria. Could you please tell us what prompted you, after living in the United States and far away from home so long, what prompted you to decide to make the move back home?
Well, I came to the United States as a young man. I attended Henry Ford Community College in Dearborn, Michigan. I left here and went to Alabama A&M University, got my undergraduate degree there. After that, I went to Troy University. That's where I did my master's.
Okay.
But in between those times, I was in the United States Navy for 14 years.
Wow.
So I served, did my active duty time and reserve years. And after completing my obligatory years, I moved to Atlanta. Started a PhD program and was working with the government. I had the privilege while I was here to have worked in the United States in all the levels of government, federal, state, local, and county.
Okay.
So I would consider myself that I've had the United States experience. The jobs that I've had gave me the opportunity to have traveled the world free. Despite all those, before coming to the United States, I had what I call the Nigerian experience. And the Nigerian experience is when Nigeria was working. And there was a time Nigeria was working.
Okay.
And if you ever grew up in that era, those memories are indelible in your memory. So I remember those days when Nigeria was working. And because of that, it was hard for me to completely relinquish the memory of Nigeria in my mind. So
Okay.
despite all the comforts and achievements that we have in the United States, it was on my mind to go back to Nigeria. And for those people that know me, that's a desire that I've always expressed for some time. And I'm glad that God has given me the strength to actualize that.
Okay. Thank you very much. I find it informative. I had no idea when you were sitting here that you served in the United States military, 14 years as a naval officer.
Yeah.
And so this is my opportunity on behalf of our communities to say thank you for your service.
My pleasure. You're welcome.
Thank you so very much. Um, my next question again is, since you were here, you have achieved a lot, obviously, and despite all your accomplishments here in this country, I imagine that you will be at a very comfortable position. But notwithstanding, you decided to put everything you have accomplished in the United States aside and relocate to Nigeria. What exactly was the motivating factor, the primary motivating factor?
Well, that actually started when I was in the Navy. I remember as a young cadet, one experience that I will never forget. I had this lieutenant. He probably don't even remember that the role that he played in my life, Lieutenant Vicky. I will consider him a very unfriendly lieutenant. For some reason, he was just picking on me for, if I'm naive, I could say for the color of my skin, and he was just making some unfriendly remarks. And one time, I remember, I wrote a grievance against him.
Okay.
As a young cadet, I mean, that's unheard of, against your company commander.
Okay.
So I was sitting in my room, and the MP, military police,
Right,
came to my room and picked me up. That the captain wanted to see me. So the lieutenant and myself went before the captain, and for the first time, when this man was a lieutenant, somebody that you looked up to, and we got up to the captain, I saw him put his hands behind his back. I was like, wow. So there's somebody that is higher than this individual. Long story short, we went there, and the captain pleaded that I should, in his own way, that I should, relax my mind and all that. But the lieutenant made a comment that was very, very indelible in my mind. It was like, why are you in the U.S. Navy? Why can't you go and serve in Nigerian Navy? Wow. That was one. He made that comment to me as a young man. And then, when I left the military and started my civilian career, for the record, I resigned as a director of health promotions in Fulton County government before I left for Nigeria. Okay. And even at that level, when we go for senior management meeting, after introduction, if we have new staff in our team, the first thing they ask me is, so where are you from? Okay. So where are you from? Despite the fact that I was a director and I was sitting with the senior management team, and I probably have traveled more on the government than most of these people that were around there. Right. I probably have served more than some of these people that were in that room for this country. Okay. I probably have a lot more credible documents on behalf of this country than those people that were there. And they still ask me, so where are you from? So a combination of this and that led me to believe that, wait a minute, this is not my country. Yes. I better go where everybody knows my name. As you know, Odenibo is my last name. Right. And wherever I go to Nigeria, even when I say my name now, people get shocked. They say, we don't mean your title, we mean your name.
They think it's the title.
So they think it's the title. I say, no, that's my natural last name. They say, wow, that's heavy, So these things played a role. And also for the love of nation, it's a good thing to have the opportunity to come here, to go to school and enjoy all the perks that America has to offer. But nevertheless, it is not your country. We are obligated by nature, right, to go back and transfer those skills that we've acquired in our journey and let the folks that are back home be able to benefit from that. Contrary to that, we'll be violating the law of immigration actually. Nothing stops you from going anywhere or going away to look for greener pastures. Right. But it is incumbent upon you to bring those skills back so that the homebound folks will feel that our son, our daughter went to America, went to UK, went to Germany or wherever. And these are some of the core values that you've acquired from there, and bring those things back home. And that is why, for those of us that are in Nigeria now, we are not going to change the country by ourselves. No. But collectively, in our little micro society, we'll be able to transfer those core values, begin to reorient our people based on those experiences that we had, those practices, best practices that we have acquired outside the country, and be able to transfer that.
Okay. It's a very interesting remark that you made. A naval officer sort of questioned your status, yes, if you don't mind my phrasing it that way. Yes. And then that made you to think that maybe I really don't belong here, and I should go to where I belong, where nobody questions my identity.
Exactly.
So my question, to follow up on that, would be, do you consider that a positive reaction, that his comments prompted you to look back at your route, or was it a negative reaction, like, you know what, these people don't want me, so to hell,
Well, when
kiss
he
my
made
language?
when he made the comment, I don't know what his intents were,
Right.
but for me, it was lucky. I was lucky to have processed that positively. I could have been negative about it,
Okay.
but I would not allow his bigotry or whatever to override my own sense of being. So I thought that as a motivation, actually.
Okay.
He didn't know what he did for me.
Good.
He
Good.
thought he was trying to play with my mind,
Yes.
but actually he invoked some level of consciousness
Okay.
in my mind
Okay.
that has resulted in what I'm doing now.
Okay, thank you very much. That answers my question. It gave you motivation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's, I think that as a positive. So I think that is something that anybody who is listening to us, or any of the viewers should take to heart, that some of the challenges that you face could be reworked to produce something very, very positive.
That is right.
Ochoma,
Yes.
let me give you a chance, please, to contribute to the conversation.
Thank you, Obinjoko. I've always worked with you in this studio every now and then that I have the opportunity. When you invite me, I come by, and having lived with Hamadike in this community for quite a long time, I'm glad to have him. And one question that comes in mind is, now that he's been able to succeed, going back to Nigeria and settled down, you've been shuttling between Nigeria and the US. For those of us who are thinking about it or contemplating, whichever way that I think I can phrase it, what how do we start making these plans based on the way things are in Nigeria? For those of us who's been here for quite a while, it's not easy. You'll be thinking about the money, the lifestyle and everything. So what kind of encouragement can you give us, Amadike?
Well, everybody's situation is very different and unique. Just like everything else in life, you must plan well. If you don't plan well, then they say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So it is not, like you said, it's not an easy transition. Having gone through it, what I have come up with that is even a bigger challenge for diasporans is what I call the psychological battle.
Okay.
Being able to overcome that psychological battle. That when you go down to Nigeria, you are not quick to judge.
Right.
You're able to have a little bit of temperament to deal with the challenges that you have. And I liken it to the challenges that confronted you when you first came to the United States.
Right.
None of us had a red carpet when you came here.
No.
There were some challenges that you come. So if you adopt the same patience and understanding that you exhibited when you came to the United States and transfer that same patience and understanding to the Nigerian environment, that is halfway winning the psychological battle. But if you don't do that, then you go there, you expect a perfect society, you expect everything to be working, then you are not ready. Because what I asked people is, what I always tell people is this: these individuals that you really expect to be the perfect human being, where do you expect them to get the reference point from? You have gone out, you have a reference knowledge of where things work.
Yep.
And then you've gone back and you're expecting the same people that you left behind, who does not even understand what it is to have what you call a comparative knowledge of government, and you're expecting them to be the best staff or the best worker or the best Nigerian that they could be. No, I'm not excusing them or making excuses for them, but at the level of your assessment, what I always tell people is that you need to put your expectation in context so that you can manage your disappointments. It's very, very important.
Right.
If you don't do that, you have set yourself up for failure.
Okay.
So overcoming the psychological battle is very, very important. Okay. And once you've done that, you need to make sure that you are bringing some value to the system.
Okay.
Because the mistake that people make is that they think that Nigeria is still where it was in 1970. A lot of changes have happened in Nigeria.
Yes.
So if you are not bringing any value to the system, you are going to fail.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of competent folks in Nigeria.
That's right.
In Africa, as a matter of fact.
Right.
If you look at the records, yes, the system might not be perfect, but the individuals that are there are struggling to make sure that they make the environment habitable.
Right.
So you can't just come just for the fact that you came from America or UK. It's not enough qualification for you to come and say, well, you have to be a governor of a state. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like
what
that.
professional
Right.
skills are you bringing to the table?
Right.
If they put you in an office, what is your professional background? What
Right.
are you bringing to the table?
Right.
So those core competencies, you must make sure that you have them, so that when you go around there, you cannot hide those competencies. They know.
Right.
You know, they know once you sit around the table with them, they know whether you are bringing some heat or not.
Right.
So the expectation that I'm from the United States, therefore everybody should take a back seat and let me take the front seat without any core values, it doesn't work.
That doesn't work that way.
You
Thank
said
you so much.
something that is very, it's fact.
Yeah.
If I might paraphrase you, put your expectations in context
That's right.
so you can manage
Manage your
your
disappointment.
disappointment.
Yeah. That is
I
correct.
think that is a very, very, it says a lot.
It makes sense.
It speaks volumes, because very often we see people who try to relocate from here to Nigeria, and they get there, and the attitudes that and the feedback, the energy they feel from people might not be exactly what they expected. And they forget that they have left one society, one continent, one completely different culture and a different environment, and moved into another one, and they're expecting people to act the way in Nigeria with the way people acted in America. I think that's not realistic, and
It's
your the way you phrased it just speaks volumes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a fact.
I normally say minimize your expectations so you can manage your disappointment.
That's
And
right.
it's not that you're lowering your standard. No, it's
Right.
just
No.
not realistic. Because most of, even some of our Nigerians that are here currently are quite ignorant of the history of the journey of this great country.
Right.
That
You
is
know,
right.
Some of them came at a time where everything seems to be okay, but it has never always been like that. Let me just remind them that as great as this country is, it was just in 1965 that African Americans started voting in this country.
That is right.
Through a struggle and
Right.
an act of the Congress.
Right.
You know, the Voting Rights Act in 1965 that
65.
enabled folks. How many years is that? Just barely over 50 years.
50 years.
Not even just 50 years ago.
Yep.
That African Americans who are true citizens of this country started voting in this country.
Right.
So when I listen to people, they sometimes swim and drown in the current comfort of the United States without forgetting,
Right.
without remembering what
Right.
the journey has been.
What the journey has
There's
been.
a famous quote that I always say. They say, "Don't count my breakthroughs without looking at my breakthroughs."
Been truth.
You know, and even some of us Africans that come here, it even affects our attitude towards the African Americans. And I always discourage that.
Okay.
You know, most of us that come here are very ignorant about the journey of African Americans. They think because they've come here, we have strong family values, we have strong family connections, we have strong family support. You come here and achieve, and you think that is the same thing for everybody. Why are they not achieving?
Right.
But there are some systemic barriers
Right.
that are in this system that can inhibit people's growth. Not making excuses, but these are realities of the
Yes,
society.
absolutely,
So-
absolutely. Okay. By way of conclusion, I would like to ask you a very personal question, if you don't mind. You have gone back to Nigeria, and I'm sure, like you pointed out through some of your comments, there are challenges.
Sure.
What did you do personally? What helped you personally to overcome this challenge? Is it your attitude, or is it your realistic expectation on people, or what in particular has helped you navigate those challenges?
Well, the first
successfully?
thing, of course, is prayers. You must commit your journey and your plans to God. That's
Okay.
one. If He approves of it, then you can proceed. And you will know if the coast is clear.
Okay.
You will know if you've prepared very well. And also, nurture your relationships. All the years that I've been in the United States, I never cut the relationships that I had in Nigeria.
Okay.
And that is what I meant with about those Nigerian experiences, I continued to nurture the relationship that I had in Nigeria. And it was through out of that relationship that I got an appointment, my first appointment that I got as a special advisor to the governor in Imo State. That was what brought me back to Nigeria. You know, and it paid off that I continued to nurture those relationships. Whatever it takes, maintaining a positive relationship is very expensive. Not financially expensive, but there are some commitments. You know, just like visiting your friends, if they drive 60 miles to come to your house, you still got to make the sacrifice to drive 60 miles to come to their house. Those are part of the commitments in friendship. And then when I got there, because of my state of mind and my commitment to that transition, I said, I'm going to succeed. Nobody let me go in Fulton County. I voluntarily resigned for a position that most Africans will probably die for. And people were coming telling me, why don't you take leave of absence? Why don't you take sabbatical leave? I said, no. If I do that, I will not apply myself like I wanted to. I'm resigning and I'm going to Nigeria and face Nigeria head on, so that I won't think that I have a backup in the United States. So when I go there, somebody said the smallest comment to me, I'll quit and go back and take over my position. So all these are things that commitments that I made on myself. And again, like I said, I put my expectation in context. You know, instead of being too judgmental, I listened a lot. I held my comments. You know, when it's time for you to speak, you will know. You will know. But if you go there and start speaking without listening, we are going to make a lot of mistakes. So it's important that you listen a lot. You know, even if they sound stupid, just listen. There's a time when your competencies and your knowledge will take center stage. Because if you really want to make a difference, you cannot make a difference from outside, you make a difference from inside. And if you shoot yourself in the foot too quick, you will not get the opportunity to be on the inside. So it's important that, like the Americans will say, call me a fool and pay me right. You know, get into the system, then all those values and core competencies that you have will manifest once you get the opportunity. Now, in terms of the challenge, of course, there are two different categories. Of course, there's a financial challenge, and then there's a psychological challenge. You know, the financial challenge of maintaining 2-3 homes. In our own case, like 3. You know, I have an apartment in Abuja. I have a home here. We have a home in Owerri. And then we have a home in the village. And these are all active homes. Because once you're in Nigeria, those homes are activated. But, you know, if you plan well, you'll be able to navigate through all these things. And then the psychological challenge, of course, leaving your family behind here. But in life, you must sacrifice something. The main thing is to remain commitment to make sure that at least you know what you want, and that you have made the necessary commitments to make sure that you actualize those things. And once you do that, then we'll revert to the old saying that the end justifies the means. So.
Okay, thank you very much. One thing again that I want to highlight, picking up from what you said, you had to resign your job. Not take a leave of absence, not take a sabbatical. You wanted to mentally and physically detach yourself from here.
That's correct.
So that you can focus 100% on your plans. That's something that I think anyone who's listening to us should take to heart. It might not be practical for everybody. So evaluate your circumstances.
And you know, I'm not calling for everybody to resign their jobs out there, because like I said, remember I did say I got an appointment. But I had a choice. When I got the appointment, the governor had 6 months to be in office. And that was a big risk. And people were saying, why are you leaving? I said, listen, my destiny is different from yours. And in my own mind, I've convinced myself that there is nothing else left for me in this system. I've gone to school to the highest level you can get. I've served both on the civilian side, on the military side. As you know, I ran for election in this town. Ran a strong election.
We have a caller coming in. Omega Studio International. This is Obi. Who am I speaking to?
Hi, Obi. Yeah, my name is Dr. Ernest. How are you doing today, Obi?
I'm doing well, thank you, and welcome to Omega Studios. Do you have a question for our guest?
Yeah, I'm listening to you guys' analysis, and I really appreciate what Mr. Ohameadike is doing for the country and everything. I want to ask, with this new dispensation of the Buhari-led administration and the fight against Boko Haram, in the northern part of Nigeria. What experience will you bring to the table if you are given an appointment to work closely with the government in the Borno region? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very good.
I'm not sure that security is one of your strong points,
No,
but
I think
I'll
he's
give you an
asking that,
opportunity.
he's asking that question from a military standpoint.
Right.
Yes. Ironically, when I was finishing up my career
Okay.
in the armed forces, I made contact with the Nigerian armed forces,
Okay.
and I wanted to see if I can transfer
Right.
both the experience and the profile to Nigeria.
uh-huh.
And sadly, in Nigeria, once you've served in the foreign armed forces, you
Yeah.
cannot serve in Nigerian armed
Right.
forces. And I thought that was very strange.
Really?
Because yes, you know, I was shocked when they told me that, because we lose out a lot. And I gave them examples of many countries that I even partook in trying to go back. For instance, I gave them instances like Estonia. When I was in active duty, most of the government, most of the current, well, at that time, the government of Estonia was instituted by the United States and a former member of the armed forces who went back to serve in that country. And all he did, he was able to co-opt all those resources and the relationship they had to able to help his country.
Okay.
Israel, for instance, Netanyahu was a former
Right.
citizen of this country.
Right.
He denounced it to go back to work for the country. So, in terms of consultancy, you know, Nigeria is a very virgin place. We continue to explore opportunities based on our previous experience.
Right.
I'm very happy and capable to work, advise, collaborate with governments at any level based on the competencies that I bring to the table.
Okay.
So I guess that's the answer that I can give.
Okay.
I'm not a military officer in Nigeria currently, and I do believe that Boko Haram, as much as it's not a Nigerian issue, it's a global issue. But I do believe that if you watch the trend in the last 2 months of this administration, you will find out that positively they're overcoming that challenge. And I
Okay.
think it's when the international community came in and realized that this is not a Nigerian problem, that is an international issue. So I think we are going to arrest that situation soon. I hope so.
Okay. Thank you very much. I still have a few more questions.
Sure,
but we are out of time. I'm not sure if you will have the opportunity to come back. I don't know how brief your visit is or how long it might be, but this is a very interesting conversation. And like I said, there are so many other areas I would have loved us to touch on. So I hope that we get a chance to have your attention, your audience again.
As
here in
long
the
as I'm
studio.
here, you know, before I go, it will be my pleasure to come back.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
try to get him in an ordinary evening or something like that.
Okay.
Just work around our schedule.
Okay.
We'll be glad to have him again. He's a family member.
Yes, yes.
We've always lived here. It doesn't matter even if you go back to Nigeria, you still are a Georgian.
Oh, sure.
So
sure.
welcome
My
you at
family
any
is there.
time,
Okay.
and we're glad to have you. Amadika.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Keep up the good work. Keep
Thank
up
you,
the good
ladies
work.
and gentlemen.
We just arrived. I'm sorry to
Yeah.
interfere, so.
Thank you again, Mr. Odenibo. Do you go by Mr. Odenibo or Dr. Odenibo? Chief Odenibo?
Chief Odenibo.
Chief
I'll call it
Odenibo.
Ifeanyi Odenibo.
Okay,
Yes.
Chief Odenibo, thank you
Yes.
very much
My
for giving
pleasure.
us some of your
My
time,
pleasure. Keep
and we
up the
hope to
good
see
work.
you
Keep
again.
up
Thank
the
you,
good
thank you.
work. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
We are a chosen generation.